Welcome back to Built for Legacy. I'm your host, Chris Nichols. Today, our guest is Sloan Clymer. Sloan is a professional MMA fighter, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and he was actually my Jiu-Jitsu coach for a period of time, so I got to see firsthand how incredible he is at his craft. This is a fairly unique podcast because it's heavily focused on the world of MMA, fighting, and jiu-jitsu. But we tie this back into the business behind those sports and Sloan's path as an entrepreneur as he creates himself into a successful professional fighter. We start off talking about Sloan's recent experience cornering his friend who fought at UFC 318, where the main card was Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway. We cover some important lessons from that around what it's like to prepare to perform at a bigger stage, what type of challenges or obstacles you might run into, and how you best adjust your mindset as you move up in level. We cover what the path looks like to the UFC for an aspiring pro fighter, how the sports of MMA and Jiu-Jitsu have evolved over the past decade, and then we get to know Sloan a bit. We learn about his childhood in Indiana and then what got him to move to San Diego and fully pursue a life where he would eventually make a living coaching and competing in Jiu-Jitsu and eventually becoming a pro MMA fighter. More specifically, back to the theme of Built for Legacy around entrepreneurial transitions, we talk about Sloan's transition from Jiu-Jitsu coaching competitor to MMA fighter, what he's learned along the way, what type of business opportunities he's pursued throughout this process, and some more tactical promotion strategies inspired by UFC fighters like Conor McGregor, Sugar Sean O'Malley, or Ilia Topuria. I believe that Sloan has taken a very entrepreneurial approach throughout his journey as a fighter, and I think there's some great lessons that can be applied to any business you're working on, any job you have, or any sport or pursuit you're trying to become much better at. Please subscribe to Built for Legacy on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and follow the Instagrams at Nichols and Dimes and at Built for Legacy Podcast. Now, please enjoy my conversation with Sloan Clymer. Sloan Clymer, what's going on?
Not much, man. Glad to be here.
Thanks so much for being on my show, man.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Dude, so I trained with you at Legion for a bit. You were my jiu-jitsu coach for a period of time. I've kind of hopped around gyms a little bit, various injuries and just different situations, but yeah, I really enjoyed working with you, man. You're incredible.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I put my all into coaching. I will say that it's something that, I don't take lightly. And I've been doing it now for like 8 years. I've been coaching jiu-jitsu and getting paid for it out here in San Diego. So yeah, I do my best to be the best version of me when I'm there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've always loved it when we had that chance to work together, and I'm sure there's going to be more.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Forward. We got our small little community out here.
Exactly. I'm not going anywhere either. So yeah.
Yeah. And on that note, you've got a big new pursuit you're on with MMA.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And I just want to start off with an experience you very recently had. You just went and cornered your buddy at UFC 318.
Yeah.
In New Orleans. So this is the fight for everyone watching, Dustin Poirier's last fight against Max Holloway. And your buddy, Robert
Valentine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So could you tell me about how you got this opportunity? How'd you meet him?
Oh, well, I met him when I was out in Thailand training. Like my first week out there, we started training together and I was actually helping him prepare for his last fight. And then we became friends, and I also became friends with his other coach, his striking coach. And I began training at that gym while I was out there in Thailand. And so it all kind of just worked out, and he asked me to go be in his corner. The fight didn't go his way, but it was still a cool experience just to be at the UFC and to even just to get to do the walkout before my time comes, you know, because I see myself fighting in the UFC or another big organization. And so just being able to be there and kind of see how it all works, you know, that was good for me. It was a good learning experience.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I'm asking. That's why I'm starting with this, because I had a feeling this was your ultimate goal.
Sure.
To go fight in the UFC.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's every fighter's goal, I think, you know? And I mean, I grew up watching the UFC with my dad. So yeah, I've had it in my head for years. If my dad could just watch me be in, even just one UFC fight, one actual fight in the UFC, before he dies someday, I would be really happy with that. That would be something that would be really cool. I'm sure he'd be very proud of that. And so, I plan to make that happen.
I love to hear that, man. What did you walk away with being most motivated about after this last experience? Because you probably haven't had an experience at a UFC fight that big on the floor, have you?
Yeah, I mean, well, I've been to a few UFC events in the past, and one of them being with my friend Ben Saunders, who actually fought in the UFC for years. I helped him prepare for his fight against Jake Ellenberger. This was back in 2018, I believe. And then shortly he won his fight against Jake Ellenberger, and he got a hold of me a few weeks later and was like, "Hey, I got tickets to this next UFC. Do you want to go with me?" And it was right there in like the fighters row. Like, I'm sitting next to like Sean O'Malley's right there, Paige Van Zandt, all these other big name fighters. And I'm right there, in the mix with all of them. So that was a really neat experience. It was, that was obviously like 7 years ago. But yeah, this was my first time working as a cornerman in one of those events, and it was neat, man.
So what was your role as a cornerman in this fight?
I mean, not much, bro, other than just obviously coach him through the ground if it gets to a grappling exchange. I was going to be the voice for that.
Okay.
It was a stand-up fight the whole time though. So I didn't really say much, but yeah, that was the plan. And just to be there and help him cut weight and do all the the tedious little things that you got to do as a cornerman, so that the fighter doesn't have to stress about those things during fight week. Whether that be just carrying jugs of water in from the grocery store, even things, just small things like that, and wrapping towels around him when he's getting out of the sauna and as he's cutting weight and all miserable. Like that's part of a cornerman's job too, is just to help the fighter through the whole process.
Yeah. So I'm really just trying to dig out what is the biggest differences you noticed about the experience of doing this, playing this role in the UFC at a fight card at this level versus, because you've done this many times with a bunch of other leagues. I've seen you. I saw you at the Epic fight recently, Jason Stewart's league. Who Jason was on this show recently as well.
Yeah.
But and also you fought in Lights. You fought around Lights Out. Sean Merriman's league. He was on the show too.
Yep.
So you've been around a bunch of different leagues, whether you're cornering, whether you're fighting. But what stood out to you about this whole process leading up to the fight, being at the highest level in the UFC?
What's funny, bro, is it's not that much different at all. Like there's not really that much of a difference from the UFC and any other organization. The only difference is the attendance. Sure. I mean, there's definitely some more professionalism as far as like, just accommodating the cornermen, like making sure that, we're all taken care of with they hook us up with gear and that sort of stuff. And, and there's cameras backstage in the warm up rooms for the fighters, shooting them. And, all the cameramen go through and make the fighters do like a little shadow boxing before they do their walkout. And so there's little things like that, but bro, really it's just like any MMA fight, which I kind of assumed it would be, but yeah, there's nothing really different. It's just things are just nicer and it's a way bigger crowd you're walking out to. But everything else is all the same.
Well, I think that's a really good mentality to have, or good perspective to have.
Yeah.
Because it's not like a scary thing where you wonder, oh my gosh, how am I going to do in that environment?
For sure. Right. Because it's easy to, we put these different leagues or organizations on a pedestal, like it's a different thing. I'm obviously a professional fighter now, and I've been through the process, but you kind of might start to think like, yeah, but what's it going to be like when I'm in the UFC doing this? It's really not any different though. I think it's good to have that experience maybe before fighting in the UFC, just so you get it. And just so you know that, yeah, this is just a fight. That's all it is. No, whether you're fighting in the UFC or whether you're fighting in some random local pro event, it's all the same thing. It's just a fist fight.
Yeah.
It's the same process. You got to cut weight, you got to show up. The ref makes sure that your nails are trimmed and, and you got a cup on and you go in there and you fight the guy. Yeah.
Well, I think that's something that people can apply to a lot of different things if they're going to the next level and whatever it is they're doing. And that's just a mentality you can apply. Cause, I think we have heard guys who've played high level college basketball or football, and then they go to the NFL and NBA, and they say, "Oh, it's different out there," right? But I wonder if that's because it's a team setting versus a one-on-one setting.
Maybe, yeah. There could be some of that. I think for a lot of people, it's just in their head. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I think that it's for me. I do my best when I realize that it's all the same. It's not a big deal. You know, like when I went from competing in random little local jiu-jitsu tournaments, you know, when I would go to like a Naga tournament or a grappling industries, and then, you know, I started competing in like ADCC trials, and I started to get invited to things like Who's Number One or other big super fight events. And at first, all that was really scary to me. I was like, oh gosh, like this is like a big step up in competition, and it's different. And then after doing it a couple times, I was like, no, it's not different. It's just a match is a match, you know, whether you're at a random grappling industries or whether you're at on the biggest stage in the world. You know, if it's Who's Number One event, or if it's you know, or if it's the ADCC, it's just a match. Like, yeah, the opponent might be tougher that you're facing, but it's all ran the same. You know what I mean? So it's like, and yeah, there might be a bigger crowd watching you. There might be more eyes watching you, but you got to realize that that's all just an illusion, really. I mean, it's not even real. Those are just people. They're not interfering with what's going on. You might hear more background noise and more of a buzz, and, you know, more shouts, and, you know what I mean? Fans going, you know, whatever, making noise. But, other than the match itself, what's going on, it's not any different, no matter the stage, you know what I mean? And I think that the more athletes can figure that out early on and realize that you know, the biggest stage, it's just an illusion. It's just a name, you know, Who's Number One, the UFC, whatever. It's just a name. Yeah. It's really just the same thing though. You know what I mean? So, and I think, I don't know, because I'm obviously not a football player in the NFL, but I would have to assume that it's really not that much different playing in the NFL versus college football. Like, maybe, you know, again, there's some more things as far as the professionalism goes that, you know, you gotta know, and you gotta pay attention to. But other than that, I think that it's all the same.
For sure.
You know?
Well, I love I think this is going to be a big lesson that comes out of our conversation today for anyone listening, is just, why don't you try this? Try looking at that next step, where that big goal you have is not like this big, crazy, scary thing that, and you don't know how you're going to do. Just say, hey, I'm getting my reps and doing this thing that I do. And it's just like a different scene around you. Right.
Yeah. Just a different platform.
Yeah. Platform. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, cool, man. Well, I want to go back a little bit to your background and just kind of quickly walk through that and come to where we are today.
Yeah.
But you grew up in Indiana, kind of in a smaller town.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
You were around fighting and fitness from an early age.
Yeah.
Right. Your dad was a bodybuilder.
Yep.
And he also did some fighting, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want me to speak on that?
Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I was around it, and I saw fighting and jiu-jitsu and boxing and things like that from a very young age. So it was always like a normal thing to me. I didn't really train myself or get involved until I was about 15 years old. And, you know, as you probably heard on that other show that I was on, you said you were listening. I mean, what really got me interested was one day, one of my friends, that I thought I could beat up, he kind of like out wrestled me in his living room.
That's right.
And yeah, we were kind of messing around and got to wrestling, and he threw me around a little bit more than what I would have liked, you know? And in my head, I thought that he couldn't do that he wasn't capable of that. And I was like, I know my dad knows how to do this stuff. Yeah. I know that this is a thing and that there's a skill in it. And so I started picking my dad's brain on it. And I think like that night I went home. My dad was out in the barn, and in our backyard, we had a barn with mats and, it's like a full weight room. And on the weekends, he would have buddies over. They would train jiu-jitsu, MMA, boxing. And then every weeknight, my dad was out there lifting weights on his own after he got off work. So one night on a weeknight, after me and my friend were wrestling around and he kind of whooped up on me, I walked out there and into the barn. My dad was lifting weights. And I explained to him what had happened. I was like, yeah, Cody held me down in this position. I didn't know what it was called. I didn't know it was called side control. And my dad was like, oh, okay. Well, here's how you deal with that. Here's how you get out of it. And he was showing me basically what shrimping was. And I'll never forget the way that he explained it to me. He was like, you basically want to push their body a little bit one way while your body goes out the other way. He's like, so it's not just one movement. It's like you're getting them to move a little bit and you're moving a little bit. And the combination of the two is what's going to get you out from under them. And from that moment, it intrigued me. I thought that was cool that my dad knew this specific thing and he showed it to me, showing me how to do it. Yeah. And so shortly after that, I started joining him and his friends on the weekends, and I would train with them. They started at 9:30 a.m. every Saturday and Sunday. And man, there was a big group of guys meeting up at my house from the time I was a little kid. And
this was jiu-jitsu focused or more wrestling?
It was fighting. Yeah, they were boxing. They were doing jiu-jitsu. They were lifting weights. They did everything. It was like a 2-hour practice. And a lot of these guys that trained with my dad, some of them fought locally. And they would go do jiu-jitsu competitions too. And they were all active martial artists. And so, yeah, I started joining them and training with my dad and his friends on the weekends. And I just fell in love with it, you know, and it wasn't always easy. They would beat me up and stuff, but you know, even though I got beat up by them, my dad always made sure I was taken care of. Sure. He always made sure that nobody. I even remember there were a couple times he had to check a few of his buddies that were out there that were kind of like maybe roughing me up a little too much. And he's like, back off of him a little bit. Okay.
Cause you were the only kid.
Cause yeah, I was a 15-year-old kid and I'm in there with like these big, strong, muscular dudes, like the manliest men that you could imagine. These guys weren't like little jujitsu nerds. Like these are like tough, burly dudes, you know, corn-fed dudes from Indiana, you know, and they were mean too. They were all like mean, tough guys. Yeah. And so, you know, but yeah, they all took care of me. And I got so many stories of like that period, that era. It was so, man, I wish I could go back and relive those days. And, you know, back then cell phone cameras weren't a thing. And even just like photos on a cell phone wasn't really a thing. You know what I mean? And but I wish I could have captured more of those moments with like even a photo or like, I wish I had videos of back then training with those guys. Cause it was like, man, it was entertaining, dude. Like I remember some of them getting carried away and kind of fighting each other sometimes. I remember my dad, if you don't mind, I mean, I could sit here and go on about little stories about this, but one time, they start sparring. And so when we were boxing sparring, we only put on the gloves, but when we would do kickboxing, we put on the shin guards, right? And my dad had this friend of his that was kind of a knucklehead. And the dude, he knew how to fight though. Yeah. He had some amateur fights and stuff. And, it was like, my dad was like, okay, we're going to do some boxing today. So we had already done a little bit of conditioning. We'd done hill sprints outside. We lifted some weights and stuff. And then he sets the timer and he was like, all right, we'll go first round. Him and his buddy, they touch gloves and his friend just throws a hard leg kick. And now it's not only a leg kick that's, you know, unprotected because he didn't have shin guards on, but he hits my dad right in the balls. And my dad just like, you dumb motherfucker. He's like, we're boxing. We aren't kickboxing, you know? And his friend was like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were kickboxing. My dad's like, we're not wearing shin guards. And my dad goes, okay. He goes, let's kickbox. And I remember my dad just beat the shit out of him. Like basically TKO'd him right in front of me, like dropped the guy. And then the dude like got kind of like was walking off the mats. My dad was still hitting him and was just like, he was like, come on, no, get back on the mats. You want to kick me again? And then the dude, he apologized and he sat down. My dad beat him up. And I remember my dad, that just set the mood for the day. My dad was just like, he was pissed after that, but it was just funny, man. Just things like that. That's how I grew up. And I was seeing that stuff every weekend. And so it became normal, you know, but yeah.
And that's the point I want to make by letting you talk about this, because I think in the past 5 years, we've really seen MMA, UFC become much more mainstream, right? And I think a lot of that has to do with how Dana handled it in 2020.
Yeah.
Right. He was like the only sports league to really keep it going at a certain level, I feel like, and it became so much more popular. But also, it's just it exposed what it is to a lot more people. People 10 years ago or before that, I would say, used to think it's just this crazy, violent, scary thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's the time when you were getting into it, when it was much smaller or looked at differently.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And
it was crazy because like a lot of people didn't even know what it was back then.
Right.
You know, people had never heard of the UFC or anything.
And with the uplift of UFC in the past 5 years, now that's helping jiu-jitsu become more popular.
Yeah, it is.
And now we're seeing the UFC jiu-jitsu thing get going. So
Yep. So it's cool to see all of it growing, you know, because it should be. I mean, to me, again, and it's still kind of an unpopular opinion, but I think that combat sports are just the best sports. I don't think there's anything better than one-on-one sports. I mean, I'm nothing against football or baseball, but there's no way that those can be as exciting as watching two people scrap with each other. Even if it is just jiu-jitsu, you know, to me, seeing two guys wrestle around with each other and try to submit one another, that's way more exciting than watching any kind of team sport, you know? So hopefully one day I hope it keeps going in this direction.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that'll be great for all of us involved, right?
Yeah.
Especially you with now you have a legitimate career
exactly
in it, right?
Yep.
So, okay. So one thing I wanted to understand after listening to your other podcast, you told a lot of stories about your childhood, high school, and it just sounded to me, you were a very convicted guy, and but you described yourself as feisty. You were a feisty kid.
Yeah.
And there was maybe some altercations you got involved with.
For sure.
But, you know, without going into those stories, they're entertaining stories, by the way. Yeah. Anyone who wants to listen can go find that podcast, and it's pretty hilarious, some of them. But what do you think made you a feisty kid? Because you're a good dude.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I've always been a good guy. Even when I was a kid, I don't think I was ever a bad kid or like really looking for trouble. But see, my mom, she grew up very rough, and, you know, she had an abusive alcoholic father. All her brothers, they fought people. My mom has crazy fight stories, you know, she that was just ingrained in her, that mentality. And I think it's just the trickle effect. I mean, you know, a part of me believes it's the way that I was raised and nurtured by my mom. I saw my mom react to situations and blow up on people. And even when I was a little kid, I remember my mom like beat up some girl and almost got arrested for it. It was a long story, but then on top of that, I think there might be like some genetics, like the way that your parents think, it's kind of passed down through your genes. Like you inherently just think kind of like your parents think. And my mom is a very feisty individual. And so by nature, I was that way too. And I still am a little bit, but it doesn't mean, you know, like I said, I don't think I was ever someone who was really, really looking for trouble. I was just very open to it.
Right.
I just was like, I had open arms, you know, I was always accepting any conflict that maybe would come my way when I was, you know, when I was out and about as a teenager and even in my early 20s and stuff, you know. Would
you say it give you a sense of excitement or comfort?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah, comfort's a good way to put it too. It was my comfort zone, you know, going and getting in a fight felt right. It felt as weird as it sounds, it felt like the right thing to do. It was exciting and it made me feel good about myself. And, you know, maybe there was a part of me that you could say it was like a sense of insecurity that I needed to prove to myself that I was a man or that I was tough by like beating someone up in a street fight or something. But I don't know if it was just that though, man, because I just really thought it was fun.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think now I'm pretty confident and secure. And even though I know the risks of getting into a fight and potentially getting shot or stabbed or put in jail or whatever, there's still a part of me that it's like, I kind of hope it happens sometimes when I'm out and about. I can't help it. It's just the way that I think, bro. I can't even help it. Sometimes I wish I wasn't that way, but I can't help it. It's literally just who I am. Yep. My lady knows it too. She just knows that I just have it in me, that I'm just waiting for someone to test me. You know what I mean? And again, it's not, I promise, I don't think that it's out of insecurity. Like, I feel like I'm a pretty secure, confident guy. I just love it. I love fighting. Yeah. I love physical altercations. It's fun to me. And yeah.
Well, especially now, I mean, because you could compare yourself when you were a teenager and how it made you feel versus now. And now you're obviously extremely well trained.
Yeah.
At a much higher level than you were then. And so you can make that comparison and say, I really do just enjoy this. It gives me that excitement. I think the fun aspect comes back to the excitement that you get out of it, the thrill.
Yes. Yeah. That's all it is, really. Yeah. I think now is that it just, to me, fighting always felt like the right thing to do. And whether it was in a street fight or whether it was in a jiu-jitsu match or whether it was, in a cage fight, it's just, to me, it's always just felt right when I'm doing that. Unlike anything else, no matter what, other endeavor I've explored over my years. I've had several different jobs over the course of my life. I was a correctional officer for a few years. I was a bouncer at one point. I even did a little bit of security guard work. I've done all kinds of stuff. Yep. I was a skateboarder when I was younger. I was into graffiti and art a lot growing
Rapping?
up. Yeah. I was into rapping, singing, everything, like all kinds of just music in general. I played a few instruments as well. And all those things kind of felt good, I guess, to a degree, or some of them felt better than others. But fighting always felt like something I just needed to be doing. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about your transition to San Diego from Indiana. So this was in your early 20s. It sounded like you were kind of stuck in this cycle where you weren't feeling fulfilled with how life was going at that point.
Yeah.
And you needed to change, right? That things were happening. You were getting into a little bit of trouble, right?
I was getting into some trouble for sure. And I love my friends, but they were, it's just, it was a toxic environment we were in. We were going out drinking a lot and there was a lot of fighting, which again, the fighting part I'm okay with. It was like everything that followed though, getting thrown out of bars and getting chased by the cops and just stupid stuff, man. And eventually I was like, oh, this isn't working anymore. I can't do it. Cause I knew what was going to happen to me if I stayed there. I knew that it wasn't going to end well. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not saying I would have ever gotten killed, but I for sure would have gotten put in jail at some point, 100%, like no question about it. Yeah. And, after this one particular night when we got into a bar fight, and somehow we all almost got arrested and, we made it out of there, which one of my friends, he was like, we all were very drunk, and one of my buddies got behind the wheel, and luckily we made it home without any of us getting killed. None of us should have been driving all that night, but and it was like the cops were pulling up to this bar to arrest us, and
you just got away.
We just got away. Yeah, it was a crazy night, and that night that whole next day I was like feeling so depressed. I didn't want to get out of bed, and I was like, I freaking hate my life. It sucks, and
it was a wake up call.
Yeah, it was. And that very next day was when I was thinking, I got to just move. I can't do what I want to do here. It's not working. I'm stuck in this environment and this group of people I'm hanging around. We're doing the same thing every weekend and it's getting me into trouble. And so I started looking around. I literally pulled out my iPhone and was looking on the maps, and I was like, Southern California it's literally the furthest place on the map from Indiana. You know what I mean? And
So
I'm
it
thinking,
really was that simple?
yeah. And I was thinking Southern California seems like a good place to go.
Mm-hmm.
So
what did you think of it at that time though? Like from afar, what did you think Southern California was?
I mean, pretty much everything that it is.
Okay,
I just thought it was like this nice, sunny, beautiful place with, you know, with good, like the weather, the women, everything, you know, and my mind as a 22-year-old kid, I was like, this is the dream life. This is where I want to go. So yeah. And I found out shortly after that one of my, I mean, he wasn't even like a close friend. He was just an acquaintance. He had moved out here. And so I got a hold of him on Facebook, and I told him I was interested in coming out to California. And he immediately said, bro, you can sleep on my couch if you want to. He's like, just come out here. I'll get you a job. I work with a moving company right now. They're always hiring. You'll have no problem getting on there. And he said, just come out here. And I was like, all right, cool. So I packed up my stuff, and well, I waited a few months. And saved up a little bit of money, and then literally like packed my car. I drove out here, stayed on his couch, which, like I said, it's like up the street from where we are right now. And then within 9 days, I signed the lease to my apartment, and then never looked back. And
been there ever since.
Yeah. And I mean, it was, bro, the first year was very tough for me. I mean, just mentally being away from my family, being the small town kid who never knew anything outside of Anderson, Indiana, and never knew anything outside of my family and my circle of friends. You know what I mean? Like that was so scary to me, and it was so hard, bro. It was the biggest challenge ever. I remember just several nights where I would be laying in bed alone, just crying, just because I was so, it was just so hard being away from everyone and being in this new life.
Yeah.
I remember waking up at like 3 a.m. sometimes, just staring at my ceiling. Like, what am I doing? Why am I here? Why did I come out here? This is the biggest mistake of my life. I would start thinking like that. And then something just kept telling me, just stick it out, dude. You're going to figure this out. It's going to be all right. And, you know, after a while, I really got settled into a groove. I got a good job bouncing, and I had a good gym I was training at. And then, yeah, and everything got easier.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, yeah, you got your rhythms.
Yeah.
Did you have, okay, so a big motivation of you leaving Indiana was to get out of that toxic cycle you're in, to kind of refresh yourself in your life, reset. But you also had something you were going towards. I imagine that was this dream of, did you know at that point you potentially wanted to be a pro fighter?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
So that was like always the big thing you were going after while you were doing other jobs.
Get a jiu-jitsu black belt, become a pro fighter.
Got it.
Those are the two things I wanted to do.
Okay.
I remember thinking, if I can accomplish those things, I'll be really happy with myself.
Yeah.
And that's what ended up happening.
Yeah. And so then how did you get connected with 10th Planet? That was your first gym when you came here.
Yeah. So, you know, I really loved no-gi. And the reason I loved no-gi is because it applied more to fighting.
Yeah.
It applied more to MMA. And so I always wanted to train no-gi and wrestling. And all the gyms out here at the time, there were a lot of good gyms, but most of them were heavily gi at the time. This is back in 2015, you know? And so,
and to his point, no-gi has become much more popular again over the past 5 to 10 years.
Oh yeah. Yeah, bro.
So
I mean,
more.
the popularity of no-gi now compared to 2015, it's just night and day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just like, well, let's go try out this no-gi gym. And I was already pretty skilled at that point. Like I had been training, you know, on and off for 7 years or something. Yeah, about 7 years. Cause I was 22 when I moved here, and I was about 15 when I started jiu-jitsu. And
had you been belted?
No, I hadn't been belted, but I wrestled in high school, and I'd done several competitions. I had 2 MMA fights already. Like, so I was already like kind of seasoned in grappling and martial arts. And so I came out here and I went to 10th Planet, paid the drop-in fee. I met Boogeyman, and you could tell he kind of had his eye on me. Like he was just watching me roll. His gym was a lot smaller at the time. There weren't nearly as many people on the mats as I'm sure there are now. And he saw I had some skill, and he was like, "What's up, man?" He's like, he pulled me to the side after class and he was like, "Where are you from, dude?" He just kind of wanted to get to know me. And I told him, I was like, "Yeah, I'm from Indiana. I just moved out here. I said, I really just want to do jiu-jitsu and I want to fight MMA." And he's like, "Are you going to join the gym?" And I said, "Well," I said, I gotta get my finances in order first. I can't afford to just pay like a full membership right now." I said, "But," I said, "until that happens," I said, I'd like to come in and just pay like a drop-in fee if I can do that once a week or something." And he said, "Well," he was like, "Why don't we maybe just get you cleaning the mats at night after training and you won't have to pay a membership." And he was like, "Would you be down to do that?" And I was like, yeah, let's do that." And so,
Wow.
I did that every night. And then, and I remember at first when he brought it up to me, he said, let's do that for 6 weeks and see how it goes. And then maybe you can do an official membership with us. And I remember in my head thinking, okay, so I have 6 weeks to get this guy to really like me and to get this whole gym to really like me. And I'm like, I know I'm a likable dude. I know I'm a cool guy. I can do that. And within 6 weeks, it's like I was a staple at that gym. Everyone loved me. They never brought up the membership to me. Not one time. They never brought up me paying ever. And so,
did you continue cleaning though?
Yeah, I continued cleaning the mats every
whole
night.
time.
No, so I did that for about 2 years, and then right after I got my purple belt from Boogie, within a few weeks, they offered for me to start teaching a beginner's class there every Tuesday and Thursday night.
Wait, this is pretty cool. So you, so you basically wrote a free membership by cleaning mats after class through purple belt until you got a coaching job there.
And then they paid me. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Right? I was like,
that's the jiu-jitsu hack right there, guys.
Bro, you gotta be a special person to be able to make that happen. And that's true. That was literally my goal too. I was like, if I can just get away with just not paying and get these guys to like me, and I'm gonna show up every night, I'm gonna work hard, I'm gonna clean the mats, I'm gonna train super hard, I'll be a good training partner for everyone. I'm going to be nice to everyone, never show up with a bad attitude or anything. Yeah. And that's what I did. And yeah, they never once brought up a membership to me. Not one time. I was always scared too, a little bit. I remember always kind of feeling like, are they going to ask me? Is the owner going to pull me to the side and say, "Hey, you gotta start paying"? He never did.
Yeah.
And, then I got my purple belt. Then within a few weeks, well, okay, so he gave me my blue belt literally within like 3 weeks of being there.
Oh, okay.
He was like,
because your skill level is,
he was like, "Bro, I can't let you compete as a white belt. That would be," he was like, "it would make me look bad, So he gives me a blue belt. And then it was like about a year later. Okay, so yeah, it was about a year. It was almost exactly to the day 1 year later, he gave me my purple belt. And then a few weeks after that, they asked me to start teaching a beginner class every Tuesday and Thursday night. So this was January of 2017 when I started teaching there. And then I began teaching those 2 classes, and then I started picking up a few other classes throughout the week and started working the desk too. And then did that for, 2.5 years, almost 3 years, until I had the falling out with the owner, which, like I said, that wasn't Boogie, man. I had the falling out with it was the other guy who owned the gym.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I want to spend more time talking about your current stuff with fighting and jiu-jitsu into that.
Sure.
So we'll move through that story. I just want to understand how your life changed when you got connected with Keenan and Legion, because after this falling out with 10th Planet, you got a job opportunity to coach at Legion, right? And you were a brown belt at this time.
Yes. Yeah. So I was a brown belt, feeling kind of hopeless after that situation. And then I got brought on at Legion. Keenan invited me to come train. He pulled me to the side after training. We'd already kind of known each other a little bit, and we had trained together a couple times in the past. And so he asked me to teach there, and I did. And I was stoked on it too. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this guy's asking me to teach at this new gym here in San Diego. It's a beautiful facility and everything." And I started teaching there. And then, shortly after, Keenan got me a couple opportunities to do some super fights. And And, you know, there was like the Flow Grappling crew came through a couple times and shot videos of us and things like that. And that kind of got my name out there a little. And then he gave me my black belt. And then shortly after, I got invited to do a Who's Number One match. And so my name started to kind of grow. Also, you know, on top of teaching there, just competing a lot. And
so right at that time, I'm just curious, what financial opportunities opened up for you as you joined Legion, got your black belt, started competing on larger stages?
Yeah.
I would imagine, obviously, getting paid for coaching.
Yeah.
Did you do private stuff as well?
Yeah. I got a lot of opportunities to teach private lessons. And what was cool is that, you know, once I became this black belt who was more well known, I was able to charge a little more for privates because I was getting bombarded for them. And, you know, it's always like supply and demand, right? So if no one's asking you to do a private lesson, you can't be charging, you know, $200-$300 an hour for a private lesson, you know? And so you got to keep the prices super low. But then once it got to a point where it's like, I literally don't have time to do all these private lessons that people are asking me to do for them. I got to raise my prices. And then maybe some of those people who can't afford it, it sounds bad, but that's just business, right? It's like they'll back off a little bit because it was like, man, I didn't have time. And I was trying to take on as many as I could because I wanted the money. Right. And, so yeah, I was teaching, teaching private lessons, and then, I was obviously getting paid too, to do the super fights and things like that.
So, and this is all, you were only doing jiu-jitsu. You weren't doing another job at this time?
Yeah. At this point I was only doing jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Which was awesome. I mean, just to only be getting paid to do that. It was so cool. And to be able to really support myself doing it.
That was your whole goal.
That was my whole goal. I felt at that point, I'd already felt like I made it, you know what I mean? But then, you know, a couple of years went by and I was like, okay, I kind of feel like I hit a ceiling with this a little bit. And there's that voice in the back of my head, you know, talking to me saying, you gotta start fighting again. Like, this is what you want to do. So go do that.
This is what I want to hear about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is super interesting because, and just to give context, this rebrand I recently did with my podcast, I changed the name from Nichols and Dime Show to Built for Legacy. I'm really leaning into the transition story that people have experienced, these pro athletes or veterans, and how they've built something beyond just this one thing, and how they've built on top through chapter 2, chapter 3, right?
Yeah.
And your case is unique because you're kind of doing a sports transition, and we'll talk about this business aspect of all this next. But I'm really curious about your perspective on the identity shift, the fulfillment piece of why you made this switch, and how did you go about doing it tactically?
Yeah, well, I mean, I already knew that I was competent as far as grappling goes with anybody in the world, you know, so that I had that confidence starting in MMA. And I mean, I knew that I was just, you know, by nature and through the training I'd done when I was younger, I was a good fighter and I could do it and I can be successful doing it. And, you know, the caveman name and the caveman brand, I guess you could say, is like, that's something that wasn't like a hard transition. You know what I mean? That's, I think, whether you're a fight fan or a jiu-jitsu fan, you know, you're going to, that name's catchy and it's going to bring attention regardless of what I'm doing. And, so, I mean, you know, I just started training, and I mean, training, striking and everything again. It was like a year and a half ago now. And, I took a fight right away, and then I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to just do this. I promised myself I won't do another jiu-jitsu competition until I have 5 pro MMA fights. So I had 1 amateur fight. I won that. And then I had 3 pro MMA fights, and also 3 pro Muay Thai fights when I was out in Thailand. And now I'm going to, before I even think about doing another jiu-jitsu competition, I still have to do at least 2 more professional MMA fights. That's my goal. And then if I want to do both or go back to doing jiu-jitsu, I can do that too. But man, I really want to focus on this and put my all into it. And so I think, to me, it's it's natural. It doesn't even feel like a hard transition because it feels like I'm really doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And when I was just doing jiu-jitsu, there was always that little pull, that like gravitational pull to go back into fighting and training, striking and doing the whole thing, you know? And I finally just, it's like I had to just rip the Band-Aid off and do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
and also you've done this. It's like riding a bike in a way. You trained striking when you were a kid.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, it took me a little bit to get my groove back, but yeah, and it's nice to feel like I'm learning again. Like, not that I wasn't always learning with jiu-jitsu, but you know, once you reach a certain point and you're in a gym where you're one of the best guys in there, you kind of you start to hit a little bit of a wall, you know, you plateau a little bit but it was nice to really just open up again and start training everything all over again. So yeah, it's been fun, man. It's been easy. It's not been like a hard transition for me. It's been, like I said, it felt right. It feels like I'm just being myself and doing what's right for me.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, I would almost compare it with, in your case, like I took French when I was in second grade for like a year or two.
Okay.
I didn't touch it until I went back to it in like middle school, high school. And then I've always been good at it. And I almost credit it with getting that in my system at an early age.
Yeah.
And I almost would compare that from just MMA in general, striking for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was obviously I had a couple fights when I was young, but also just all the boxing sparring I did as a kid and just being comfortable getting punched in the face and knowing that like I can handle that. I can, I like, that's it's not scary for me. Whereas like there's a lot of jiu-jitsu guys who I think there's a lot of high level jiu-jitsu athletes who want to fight, you know, but they're too scared. Right. And it's understandable. Getting punched in the face is a totally different thing. And it's like, and if you've never been hit in the face before, you don't know how you're going to react to it or deal with it. And, but I already knew. I already knew that, I can take a punch. I've been hit several times. It's knew. Yeah, it was, so when I started training again, there wasn't even a question of whether or not I could handle it. You know, I knew I could.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. I want to talk on the business side of fighting right now and your experience with that so far. And I'm curious of what is the role of this management company you're with, Upgrade, right? Upgrade Marketing. You're working with them to basically manage you as a fighter and promote you. And how does that relationship work between you and them and then a fight promotion? What does that process look like to get you onto any given card?
Well, it's pretty straightforward. I have this manager and he basically, he's always looking for fights for me. And if he finds, an opponent or as the management company, they have connections to all these promotions, right? Like they know the promoters, they know the owners of these organizations, and they're always talking with them. And when they find me a good matchup that they think that, you know, it would look good on my resume, it's going to pay me decent, they immediately send it my way. They say, hey, what do you think? It'll be on this date at this time. This is the weight class. Because basically right now, being like in the early stages of my pro career, I told them, I was like, I'll fight at 185 all the way up to 205, as long as it's a reasonable opponent. You know what I mean? I'm a small 205er, but I can do it. I'm strong enough. And I think I'm skilled enough that I can, you know, I can handle guys at that weight class. Sure. So yeah, they send me the opponents or the dates and the pay and where it's at and whether or not I'm going to get my flights paid for, my team, you know, my coach's flights paid for and that sort of stuff. And then if I agree to it, then we do it. They send me the contract, I sign it, and then it's on, you know, and if not, they keep looking. How
involved are you with telling them, hey, I want to fight here and I want one of these group of guys?
Not at all.
Really?
No, not at all.
So they're just purely sourcing the opportunities.
Yes, right. That's totally on them. I say, and I mean, I suppose I could be more, vocal about that if I wanted to be, but I told them, I said, I don't care where I'm fighting. As long as you know, as long as it's an okay payday,
Mm-hmm.
and as long as it's someone that I think is going to be, you know, yeah, maybe a good test for me, but also like a good winnable matchup, you know, then I'll fight anywhere. I'm like, I don't care where it is. I don't care if I got to fly overseas. I don't care if I got to fly on the East Coast, whatever, or if it's here in the US. It's like wherever it is, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's how it works. Really. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from a personal branding standpoint, mainly online, how are you approaching documenting your journey? What is your perspective on how you want to present yourself and your journey through this?
Again, I keep it simple. I'm not being anything I don't want to be. I'm not trying to act like anything that I'm not, you know, I'm just myself, you know what I mean? And so everything that I do, every fight that I have, I post about it. I talk about it. I don't post too much though, because I don't want future opponents to have too much to study on me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I basically, I built a pretty strong and what seems to be a loyal fan base through jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
And I think a lot of my fans are really jiu-jitsu fans, but I think that maybe a lot of them kind of, you know, fell in love with my character, not just, you know, who I am as a jiu-jitsu competitor. And so, you know, these people, I'm basically, the way I see it is how I run my Instagram. I'm just keeping all my fans updated.
Yep.
And, so, you know, when I'm in Thailand fighting, I make sure that I post about it. Every fight that I have, I post and I talk about, you know, the outcome of it and yeah, but I'm just being myself, dude. You know, I'm not, that's one thing I think a lot of people kind of screw up is they try to brand themselves as this certain type of person or this certain, I don't know, whatever it is. And it's hard to keep up with that for too long and to put on that mask for too long. You know, it's like, you got to just be yourself. And that's going to be the easiest way to kind of settle into a character and build a brand. You know what I mean? So, you know, for me, it's like the Caveman is my nickname. And that nickname was brought on totally organically, you know, not at all forced or anything. And then who I am and what I'm doing, it's just really what I want to do. You know, I like fighting. I love martial arts and I want to test myself as much as I can before my body gives out on me. And so that's what I'm doing. And, you know, and I'm always going to keep my fans updated. And I know that, you know, the more authentic I am and the more transparent I am and if I'm active and if I'm constantly looking for fights, that's gonna pay off more and more as time goes on. It's gonna pay dividends, you know, by the time I'm 38. And as long as I keep this routine that I'm doing, you see what I'm saying?
For sure.
So yeah.
Yeah. So what does the track look like with where you're at now? You said you've got 4 pro fights so far?
Well, 3 pro MMA fights, 3 pro Muay Thai fights. Yeah.
Okay. So what is the realistic track looking forward if everything goes your way and you get an opportunity with UFC?
Yeah.
How many more fights do you see yourself having to do? Or I guess what level opponents? I'm sure that changes. You could do a whole lot of fights with mediocre opponents or maybe fewer fights with high level opponents. Yeah. How does that look? What can fighters kind of entering your position expect to have to do?
Well, again, I think, and it's tough to say because a lot of it goes into how marketable you are. I think the UFC wants marketable guys. And I think, again, by nature, I'm not trying to be marketable, but I think I am marketable. You know, I got braids. I got a unique look to me. You know, I got a nickname, the Caveman. I already have a big following from jiu-jitsu. The UFC loves stuff like that. So for someone like myself, I don't think it would take that long at all. I think if I win another, I don't know, we'll say 4 or 5 professional fights, I think my management could definitely at the very least get me a shot on the Contender Series. And then if I win one of those, sometimes that's all it takes. And then Dana signs you and then you're in the UFC, you know?
Yeah.
But sometimes, man, guys don't even have to do Contender Series or the Ultimate Fighter. They build an impressive record. They're marketable enough. So, one of the matchmakers from the UFC notices them in another organization, and then they give them an opportunity and sign them. Buchecha, Marcus Buchecha, he just got signed to the UFC, and I mean,
Nice.
he didn't do the Ultimate Fighter or Contender Series. He's only 5-1. He's only had 6 pro fights, but he fought and won, which is a popular organization, and he got noticed, and now he's going to be fighting in the UFC. So.
I'm so glad you brought this up, because this is what I like to focus on, is this aspect of that marketability side of it, and how important that is to get opportunities at the highest level in whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Especially as an athlete. But who do you think are the best, which UFC guys or top fighters ever have you looked up to the most in terms of the way they've branded and marketed themselves? And then a separate question around, who do you see yourself most like in terms of style and the way that you fight, who you align with, who you look up to?
Well, I mean, as far as the marketable fighters, I think, Conor McGregor did the best.
Yep.
He's the best at it. He was, this loudmouth Irish guy. But then also guys like Sean O'Malley, he has a unique look, and people notice him from everywhere. And then, he's got an exciting style to top it off, to make it that much cooler. It's like he's this weird looking skinny kid with like, these this dyed hair. It's all braided, and he's beating guys up, and so people love to see that. And then, like guys like Ilia is doing a great job, but also guys like him, it's like, they don't even have to be marketable because they're so good at what they do, right. So that's another thing. It's like, if you're so good at what you do, whether, you're trying to become popular in fighting or any other sport or whatever, then you don't even have to be marketable outside of that, but that just is going to help that much more. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And everyone has their own way of doing it. Some guys like Conor. It's like his big thing, what made him so marketable was his mouth. He's just running his mouth all the time. It's like he kind of had a unique look, but nothing that extraordinary.
Yeah.
But then guys like, Sean O'Malley sticks out like a sore thumb. It's like anyone knows who that guy is, and because he just looks so different. And so, I think that's a big part of making it on these big shows is just either being extremely good at what you do, or having a really good look and finding these other avenues to become marketable, and to become noticeable by people. When people want to look at you and they want to see what you got going on, they think you're interesting, then that's how you build a fan base. And that's how you build a following right there. And, what was your other question? I'm sorry.
It was around your style, but before we do that, I just wanted to say one thing that you made me think of is, and not to call him out, I'm actually a big fan of his, Colby Covington. There was a rumor going around where he wasn't marketable enough, and so he just made this drastic switch in his behavior in the media. And so, I mean, it worked for him.
It did.
But in a way, some might argue, maybe at least people who were close with him at some point or another, have said he became a bit of a sellout through that process.
Yeah, there's probably some of that. Some people, they start to like drink their own Kool-Aid, you know what I mean? They, I wouldn't want to do that, because like I said, it's like a guy like Colby, from what I've been told and what I've heard, is that he was actually like a pretty cool dude, like a quiet guy. And but he was smart, and he decided, okay, this is what I have to do, and I got to go all in on this character. And, but he's not being himself. And then through that, he did like a lot of things that I think a lot of fans find ugly and disrespectful, talking about people in the most disrespectful ways, and just looking like an idiot, And so, you got a lot of attention on you, and you definitely became really popular, but that's not how I would do it. I'm sure, maybe for some people that's all they got, but for me, I think like if you want to become more popular, and you want to get loud, if you will, you know, and you want to draw attention to you, try to just be more of who you are, you know, whoever you are, like find the most exciting things about your personality and lean into that, you know what I mean? And then that, hopefully that's enough, you know, and if it's not, then focus on building the skill set, you know, that should do enough.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's a weird thing. Like I said, for me, I don't really feel like I'm trying. Like I'm never trying for, you know, as far as like trying to get attention or trying to get people to look at me. This is just what I like. I've always liked the idea of having braids in my hair. I was putting braids in my hair long before anybody knew who I was or anything. And then, yeah, you know, for me, I'm just the only thing I really try for is, and that I really focus on and put a lot of effort into is building my skill and getting better.
Yep.
So,
I think you're doing it right.
Yeah.
Okay. From a style standpoint, which fighters stand out to you? Who you align with?
Man, it's hard to say because, you know, I really like obviously I believe in my hands a lot. And that's one thing that, I know is going to get me really far is that I'm a big puncher. But then also it's there's the grappling. And so when I look at a guy like, I mean, a guy like Khabib was always he's always fascinating to me. And I'm like, man, if I can, not to say that I'm on that level yet, you know, at least with takedowns, I know once I'm on the ground, I'm good. Like I got that figured out. Like, I mean, obviously there's always room to improve, but that's what like I'm aiming for, is that kind of style. You know what I mean? Just crush people. And then if I struggle with a takedown, I box them. So I mean, really, he's one of the biggest standouts for me though. Khabib and like guys like GSP, I really liked watching him, and I tried to emulate his style a lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like those answers.
Yeah.
I see that. Very cool.
Yep.
Okay. So, you know, this show has an entrepreneurial aspect to it. I think you can make an argument that you're a pro athlete, especially in an individual sport like fighting, and all the different steps you've taken on your journey, and you've figured out how to make it work for you. And like you can argue an entrepreneurial, you can argue that you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so one question I like to ask everyone on the show at the end is, what is an entrepreneurial life hack that goes against the mainstream belief that you would share with the audience?
Yeah.
It could be specific, general, whatever.
I mean, I don't know if it goes against the general audience or what people think, but build a skill and become really, really, really good at it. And you can do that with anything. That's the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand, is that anybody can get good at anything if you put a lot of focus into it. You know, you don't need to get good at a lot of things. You just need to get really good at one thing. Yeah. And if you can get really, really good at one thing, you will find a way to make a lot of money from it. Whether, you know, you're a grappler, or a fighter, or a football player, whatever it is, just find one thing and just nail down on it. And, you know, like if you look at like a tattoo artist, I mean, tattoo artists are entrepreneurs in a way.
Oh, yeah.
They built a skill and they're selling it to everyone, right? The best tattoo artists aren't, or I should say the most well-paid ones, aren't always the most skilled ones, or they aren't always the ones that can do everything. They're the ones who just pick one style and they just buckle down on it, dude. And they get so good at that one style, and then everyone wants to come to them, dude. That's one thing I noticed about tattoo artists. Just, I actually, when I was younger, I wanted to become a tattoo artist myself. I told you I did graffiti a lot. I used to draw pictures all the time, and I still do sometimes, but for years I really wanted to become a tattoo artist. And that was something that I noticed and that I learned is when I first got into the idea of wanting to become a tattoo artist, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I gotta be able to draw, you know, scripture. I gotta be able to draw a perfect face portrait of someone,
Yeah, yeah.
like I got to be able to do cartoonic stuff. I got to do everything. And then I learned over the years, it's like, no, man, there's guys that, I mean, and not to say this in a bad way, but there are guys that aren't really that good of overall artists. They just got really good at drawing one style of something and they just ran with it, dude. And they just buckled down on it and they started doing that one style over and over and over on people. There's guys that only do like freaking, tiger faces or something, and then they just blow up because of it though. They're taking pictures on people, they're posting all their stuff. And they got walking advertisements and then, because of it, they're making more money than guys that are probably a lot more skilled than them.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was just at this event at a tattoo shop last weekend and this shop, you probably know it's on Cass Street. They specialize in sharks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
yeah.
A whole bunch of sharks.
Yeah.
But I love that answer.
I'm sure they're killing it. Right.
Yeah. He's been around for 15 years or something.
Yeah. And just buckle down on one skill and get really good at it. And it can be anything. Just do one thing though. Don't try to do a bunch of things.
Right.
And
think about the specificity of what Sloan is saying too, because a lot of people might think, oh, I want to become a good tattoo artist. And they think that's being specific, but no, what about like doing sharks or doing tigers? Like even go deeper with what you really want to buckle down in.
Yes. That's it, like, get specific about the specific things. Like if you want to be a really good fighter, you don't got to learn everything. You don't got to learn, how to kick and how to punch and how to knee and how to do spinning back elbows. You don't need to know and everything on grappling. You just need to know like one or maybe two things and get so good at those that nobody can stop you. Yep. And then look at Khabib. It's like sure, the guy's got some good hands on him and stuff too, but Khabib, he grabs a hold of you, he takes you down and he beats you up until you like expose your neck and he chokes you. Yep. Or he beats you up until you just stop fighting, you know? And it's like, that's it. Just become a master at one thing.
On that note, how many fights have you won via guillotine?
Well, I mean, fights and jiu-jitsu matches included, I don't even know.
Like what?
Literally hundreds.
More than half of your fights.
Definitely.
Way more than half.
Yeah. Like out of every single jiu-jitsu match, and MMA fight I've ever had. I mean, I've won. So I've had 6 MMA fights in total in my life. Mm-hmm. And I've won, wait, let me think. 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 of the 6 were by guillotine. And then jiu-jitsu matches, it's like, I mean, I probably had 300 or 400 jiu-jitsu matches in my life, maybe close to 500. I don't know, a lot, like a stupid amount. And I've won probably at least like 300 matches with guillotines.
That's insane.
Like a stupid amount, you know what I mean? But I just got good at that one thing, and it's like, it's so, and no matter where I am, what position I'm in, I can always find a guillotine because I just mastered it. Right. And so I can just feel it, even in positions that are so unlikely. That's the beauty of mastering one thing, is that you'll start to see it everywhere, Yeah. And then you can apply it to other things too in your life. Yep. Yeah.
The perfect example. That's something relevant to you. That's full circle to the point you're making.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Well, Sloan, man, I think this is a freaking good conversation. I'm so excited to keep watching your journey. I've been watching from afar and it's exciting, man. I can't wait to see your success continue.
Thank you, bro.
Fighting.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it as well. Thanks for having me on, bro.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one last question.
Yeah, sure.
I do this at the end, but just in my effort to expand the network and find other great guests for the podcast.
Sure.
Is there anyone in your network who you would recommend I have on the show? Somebody who's got an background as a pro athlete and some sort of entrepreneurial pursuit as well?
Man, probably got a few. Well, my wife's one, definitely. Paige, she's, I don't know if you've seen Paige, but she's been killing it in the jiu-jitsu scene.
I have.
She's been tearing up everyone.
Yeah, I was just at the WNO for Jonatas and Mika, and I saw her kill it.
Oh, yeah, dude.
A heel hook, right?
Yeah. Heel hook. And since then she's competed. She had another super fight up in Washington. She won that match. And then she had that Queen of the City a couple weeks ago. Had 3 matches, all 3 wins by submission. So She's been doing really well lately. Yeah, she'd probably be my number one, recommendation, but
Sure.
I got a few friends that are doing a lot of cool things. Do you know Noah from Flowhold?
Oh, I've heard about him.
So actually he's helping me. I'm about to come out with a line of rash guards and grappling shorts.
Nice.
And we'll probably do like a run of t-shirts too and stuff like that. It's going to be like caveman themed and it's going to be cool. But
I gotta get one of those.
Yeah. So Flowhold is my friend Noah's company. He's a black belt from Victory. He's a super good dude. And he runs this company and this is actually their shorts right here.
Those are sick.
Man,
I've seen them all over.
And the gear is quality gear too,
Yeah.
bro. Like I'm not just saying that. It's like I know, you would think that that's the only reason why I'm saying it is because they're making it, but that's why I asked him to help me with this because all their gear is top notch, and there's a lot of gear out there that's kind of it's crappy. It's low quality stuff made overseas and man, I really like his gear, and he's obviously really, really pushing for this brand and it's blowing up too. Like from the time that he first started Flowhold to where it's at now and the following that it has, I'm seeing everybody that trains jiu-jitsu in San Diego wear this stuff now. I was just at a Third Eye Blind concert last week with my lady and I look right in front of me and there's some random dude just wearing a Flowhold t-shirt, so awesome. It's become really big. He might be someone that you'd be interested in talking to if you reached out to his Instagram as well.
Okay.
But,
I'd love to.
Yeah.
Man. Well, Sloan, awesome conversation.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, bro.
Thank you for being on the show.
Yeah. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
All right.
Thanks for joining me for this episode of Built for Legacy with Chris Nichols. Please hit the subscribe button on YouTube and follow on Apple and Spotify. And on Instagram, follow at Nichols and Dimes and at Built for Legacy Podcast. And please like or comment on any of the videos you come across. Would love to hear your feedback so I can continue to innovate and grow the podcast. Thank you for the support, and we'll see you next time.